Can missed love be recovered? I still remember the first time I met my wife. It was many years ago at a friend's birthday party. She was young and kind. Her smile was soft and true. She reminded me of the morning sun on a quiet lake. I thought I could build my life with her gentle voice and kind eyes. We dated for 5 years. During this time, I felt very lucky. My business was doing well. Money came easily, and every deal I made was successful. I gave all my money to her to manage. I felt proud and safe. We got married and lived a peaceful life. I believed we were happy. When our daughter was born, I thought our happiness would grow even more. I imagined family trips, laughter in the garden, and watching our child grow up. I was sure life would follow the path I had planned. But things didn't go as planned. My business started to fail. Opportunities disappeared, and deals fell through. My confidence began to crumble, like colors fading from a photo. As my work struggled, my wife changed too. Her patience and understanding turned into impatience and anger. She started blaming me for our problems and criticized every choice I made. We began to argue over small things, forgetting errands, losing keys, late bill payments. Her voice, once soft, became sharp and cold. Our home, once calm, became full of tension. I began to fear coming home each day. Instead of a warm welcome, I faced harsh words and heavy tension. To avoid more fights, I stayed late at the office, staring at my desk long after others had left. I told myself I stayed in the marriage for our daughter, hoping that a complete family, even an unhappy one, was better than breaking apart. Each night, I sat alone in my office, feeling emptier than before. During these lonely nights, I thought about Ava, a girl I admired in high school. She was kind, understanding, and thoughtful. Ava could sense people's feelings without them saying anything. She made everyone feel calm and safe. I liked her from afar, but was too afraid to tell her how I felt. She seemed too good for me, and I lacked the courage to take the risk. She married young, and our paths went separate ways. I never heard from her again, but I never stopped thinking about her. In my darkest moments, I wondered what would have happened if I had told her how I felt. One day, after a terrible argument at home, I felt trapped and couldn't breathe. I made a sudden decision to leave town and return to the city where I grew up. The old streets were still there, but they had changed with time. I walked slowly, passing places I once knew. The quiet bookstore where I dreamed of success, the old park bench where my friends and I laughed. Each place reminded me of a younger me, full of hope. Finally, I arrived at a small cafe I remembered well. Its wooden sign was faded, and the chairs had been moved, but it still felt welcoming. When I walked inside, the soft light and gentle sounds of conversation surrounded me. By the window, I saw Ava. She was sitting alone, looking much the same as I remembered, calm and kind. When she saw me, she smiled softly, bringing back memories of simpler times. Even after many years, she still looked like a girl I knew, understanding and warm. I sat down with her. She listened as I talked. I was surprised at how openly I spoke. I told her about my marriage, which started happily but became unhappy. I talked about my daughter, whom I love very much, and my business, which once made me proud, but now caused me stress and regret. I explained how my home had become a place of small, bitter arguments, and how I spent my evenings alone in the office to avoid more pain. As I spoke, it felt like I was confessing old mistakes and regrets that brought me to this lonely place. Ava listened without judging me. She let me share my regrets and sorrows. Her quiet attention was more comforting than any words could be. I confessed that I often thought of her over the years, imagining a life filled with understanding and kindness, if only I had dared to tell her how I felt. I admitted that I knew it was foolish to think about what ifs, but I couldn't help wondering how different things could have been. In her eyes, I saw sadness, not anger or pity, but a gentle sorrow that matched my own. She understood that life takes us down unexpected paths. She softly told me that long ago, she had also liked me, but we were both too young and unsure of ourselves. Neither of us spoke up, and so we lost our chance. That's how life goes, she said quietly, as if sharing a lesson we both learned too late. We cannot always have what we want. We must live with the choices we've made. We stayed in the cafe for hours as the outside world grew darker. The coffee we drank was a bit bitter, and the air between us was filled with words we never said years ago. Yet, in her calm presence, I felt comforted, even as my heart ached with regret. I let her know, in my own careful way, that she had always mattered to me, even if I never showed it when it was important. Eventually, we knew we had to go back to our separate lives. The moment in the cafe could not last forever. I stood up, thanked her for listening, and wished her all the best. She gave me a gentle smile, one that I understood meant forgiveness, understanding, and goodbye all at once. We left without promises or tears, only the quiet knowledge that we would not meet again. Now, late at night in my empty office, I think about that meeting. I remember the softness in Ava's eyes and the silence in which she welcomed my regrets. I think of the life I have, the unhappy marriage, the distant wife, the tense home I cannot escape, and I think of the life I might have had if I had spoken up long ago. I realize that some regrets never fade away. They live inside you, always reminding you of a different path you did not take. There will be no miracle to fix what is broken in my life. I cannot change my past choices or erase the pain of my present. But I know now, with painful clarity, that I once stood at a crossroads and by staying silent, chose a road that led me here. And so I carry this quiet weight, the weight of a missed chance and the memory of a kind-hearted girl who could have changed my life. If only I had dared to speak the truth when I had the chance.